Rome, the imperial city. For over 1,000 years, it would rule over a quarter of the world's population and become one of the largest and most powerful empires in the history of the world. However, in 49 BC, it would face one of its greatest threats yet, the might of its own army. In an ensuing 4-year war between Caesar and Pompey, Rome would never be the same. This event, however, did not take place in the streets of Rome, but in a distant region in what is today modern-day France, Gaul. Julius Caesar is drawing to an end a nearly 8-year campaign to subdue the Gallic tribes in the region. Just one final stronghold stands in the way of ultimate Roman victory. The Gallic king Vercingetorix has, however, encamped himself and 60,000 Gallic troops in a fortified city called Alesia. Caesar, with an equal number of legionaries, surrounds the city and sets up siege works, hoping to starve out the defenders before a Gallic relief force arrives. Unfortunately for the Romans, over 200,000 Gauls arrived before Alesia surrenders. Now the besiegers have become the besieged. The Gauls make 3 major efforts to relieve Vercingetorix. All 3 fail, and in the face of overwhelming military superiority, they are forced to retreat. At the end of the siege, Vercingetorix surrenders to Caesar, effectively ending the war.
Before you, Vercingetorix, son of Celtil, chieftain of the tribe of the Averni, commander of the rebel stronghold of Alesia, king of all the Gauls.
The Roman annexation of Gaul will be the single largest Roman territorial acquisition in history. Caesar's spoils from Gaul have made him incredibly wealthy and popular with the average Roman, something his friend and future rival Pompey can only dream of. In 59 BC, the 2 men, along with Marcus Crassus, agreed to share power and form the first triumvirate. However, Crassus was killed at the Battle of Carrhae in 53 BC, and later Caesar's annexation of Gaul began to undermine the alliance. This was because the balance of power began to shift in favor of Caesar. Pressured by aristocratic senators, Pompey reluctantly cancels Caesar's governorship of Gaul and forces him to return to Rome and answer war crimes. Caesar views this as a direct challenge from Pompey. As a response to this, he crosses the Rubicon into Italy, in effect declaring war on Pompey and the Senate. At this stage, war seems inevitable. Caesar makes a remarkably fast and unopposed march through Italy. Pompey may have more men and money than Caesar, but his troops are mainly new recruits who are poorly trained and experienced. They will also take several weeks to assemble, weeks that Pompey doesn't have. Because of this, Pompey abandons Rome and later sails to Greece. Caesar follows him to Greece. However, in the time it takes to get there, Pompey gathers at least 45,000 men from the eastern provinces, and now it is Pompey who is chasing Caesar. The campaign from there goes badly for Caesar, as he is chased from village to village by Pompey's forces. However, at the final battle of Pharsalus in 48 BC, Caesar unexpectedly defeats Pompey. Pompey's army disintegrates in the next few days, forcing him to flee to Egypt. He is assassinated in 58 BC. In the next few months, Caesar pursues Pompey and lands in Egypt. He meets the Egyptian pharaoh Ptolemy. Ptolemy is only 12 years old. Because of this, he shares power with his sister, who is also his wife. Her name is Cleopatra. Caesar judges him weak, immature, and not fit to rule a country. He forces him from power and replaces him with Cleopatra. Caesar and Cleopatra marry soon afterwards. They have a son named Caesarion. Meanwhile, Cato and Scipio raise another army in North Africa. It is, however, defeated by Caesar at the Battle of Thapsus in 46 BC. Next year, two Pompeian generals, Titus Labienus and Gnaeus Pompeius, Pompey's oldest son, raise another army in Hispania, modern Spain. This army is also defeated by Caesar. Caesar has won the civil war, but now it will be seen if he can win the peace. Caesar has a massive triumph to celebrate his victory when he returns home. He is welcomed by many of his loyal followers, but detested by his enemies. Most of the citizens that are loyal to Caesar are part of the lower and middle class, known as the plebeians. However, most of his enemy are upper class or patricians. They also make up most of the Senate. The relatively conservative Senate is angered by many of Caesar's reforms. One of his closest friends, Brutus, organizes an assassination attempt. Caesar is killed in 44 BC by men he once called his friends. The senators who took part in the action thought that they would be his heroes for saving the Republic. Instead, they would be hated by most of the people. They would also open the path for another civil war.